Hello, good evening. Thank you all for being on. Good to see your faces. My name is Drace Ryder, and I'm the Vice President of the Boys and Girls Club of the Pikes Peak region. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to participate and be a part of the conversation and the change. We welcome all of you back that have been with us before, and then welcome to any new attendees tonight. I'd like to say thank you to USAA for making this possible and for their commitment to advancing racial equity. I'd like to take a moment to introduce a couple people. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Regina Lewis. She is well known as a consulting partner, international speaker, virtual moderator, and CEO of Regina Speaking LLC. Dr. Lewis's proven specialty is leadership, professional excellence, cultural inclusion, entrepreneurship, executive coaching, strategic development, and executive public speaking coaching. Regina holds a doctorate in educational leadership, research and policy, Master's of Arts in Communication, Bachelor of Arts in Communication, and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Regina's work in the area of diversity and inclusion has become an award-winning program. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Regina Lewis.
All right, good evening, everyone. Again, it's really exciting to be here. I'm really happy to be here. At this time, I would love to introduce to you Mr. Paul Martin. Mr. Paul Martin is really coming to us out of Baltimore, Maryland. He is actually a substance use disorder treatment facilities manager and counselor there at the center there at Baltimore Station. His education, he has a master's of rehabilitation counseling. He has his license in he's a certified addictions counselor, and he has the Maryland Board approved supervisor. So there is a lot of pieces to him, including he is a vet. And here in Colorado, we welcome our vets, and he is actually a Navy veteran. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Paul Martin.
Pikes Peak, Colorado. Thank you all for coming on and visiting us. I'm so excited to be here. I'm sure that the weather in Colorado is similar to what we have here in the land of pleasant living. Currently, we're about 80 degrees. It's getting chilly. It's getting colder. And we start seeing people in the community wearing coats and jackets. Everybody's starting to bundle up. It's becoming a natural and normal winter as we used to know it. And so also I'd like to remind everybody in Colorado that this is the home of the Baltimore Ravens, but just so we can all understand that we're all excited about our teams because during COVID-19, our stadiums were empty and all of our sporting events, we're still suffering from some of those things as it pertains to COVID-19. I'd like to thank Dr. Lewis for inviting me, and thanks to Boys and Girls Club. Of course, I work with veterans every day, veterans of the United States military. The Baltimore Station is a clinically managed substance abuse treatment facility, and we help veterans with co-occurring disorders. Individuals that I have the great opportunity to serve have many wounds of war. Some of them have traumatic experiences from war, and they suffer from PTSD and other significant mental health challenges. As you may know, that veterans that have come back from war certainly discriminated against, and one of the most underserved populations of all. One interesting fact about the veterans that I serve and homeless veterans across the country, an interesting fact, 25% of all homeless people, the entire population of homeless, are veterans of the United States military. And so healthcare and other services they can't receive as well from the Veterans Administration in the community because they just won't go, or backlogging and nurses, the shortage of nurses. You guys may have experienced that, especially during these COVID times. So you can see the public health system has a shortage of workers, the Veterans Administration too. But we love our veterans, we love to serve our veterans. one of the areas that is mysterious to mental health people that I serve, people in the community, stigma associated with mental health and mental health issues. So I hope that this presentation today will help to help us better understand mental health. And mental health is subjective. It's all about you. I want to make sure that I make this clear. I am not the avid expert. I know quite a bit about mental health because for the last 18 years, I've been serving individuals that have mental health issues. But did you know that a significant amount of the adults and children mental health? And so it's important as we feed our bodies and give our bodies, our physical cells, everything we need to give attention to our mental health as well. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. This is a Zoom platform, so you'll start seeing a lot of clicking and popping and moving around. So I'd like to ask your ears up in this area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a point and raise your hand and ask questions, and I hope it can be relayed to me, and I'll answer it if I can. If I can't, I will delve a little deeper some other time, and we'll get that answer. So move forward, if you will. Let's see. And share the screen. Let's go to link that. Okay. My mental health is all about me. Well, it is all about me, and it's all about you. And so, first, I'd like to ask, does anybody really know what mental is? When we talk about mental, what are we talking about? Does anyone know? Anybody want to give it a shot? Well, when we say mental, it's all about the brain and the activities of it. Of course, we understand what health is, but when we put them together and we say mental health, we really need to understand mental health is important because it's a controlling function of all of our lives and all of us. And the brain is a most interesting part of the body that most people don't understand and know about. The brain is a central processing unit, so to speak, of information that it can store its limitless. Unlike a computer, limit to how much you can store. Brains are limitless functions of all of our senses. And one of the things that I didn't know until I began studying about mental health, about 60% of the human brain is made of these fatty organs these fatty acids, I should say, are crucial to the brain's performance. It helps to make us healthy. When we eat different foods, it fuels our body, and those brain boosting nutrients from food help to make our brains healthy. Another thing that I had to debunk was that we only use 10% of our brains, but in actuality, we use all of it. We use our brains to everything, even to our digestion. And the chemicals that the brain makes, which we refer to as neurotransmitters, but these chemicals that our brain makes with our mood, helps with our pleasures. And so it's important we feed our brain by eating healthy and exercise. Our human brain weighs about three pounds. Up the weight of a gallon of milk. And the brain can generate about 23 watts of power. And if we if we can look at those 23 watts, that's about enough energy to light a light bulb. Food is one way, again, that we make our brain healthy. Some of the best brain foods are some that you see on the screen here: salmon, broccoli, those berries, and olive oil, and green tea. These foods contain brain-boosting nutrients, nutrition, focus, memory. They help us. They help us to feel better. What we consume is important to how we feel and how healthy we are. And exercise is another way to make our brain healthy, make our mind sharp. When you eat good, you feel good. When you exercise, you feel good. It's very important to know that there are many kinds of food that we eat. It's important also to know that our kids will eat whatever is in our refrigerator. So if we only put healthy foods in our refrigerator, then they will only eat healthy foods. Also, we as adults have to maintain a proper diet, and we need to be better models and example for our kids, because if we eat unhealthy, the probability is high that they're going to eat unhealthy too. Okay. Here, my friends, Belle and Benny, they help us to understand about mental health. Let me give you an idea of some of the ways that they came up with to give us an understanding of what mental health is.
And welcome to Youthful Minds. When you hear mental health, what comes to mind? Is it ADHD, depression, anxiety? Today we will discuss what mental health is, how we develop mental illnesses, and what we can do to stay in good mental health. Let's get started. When we talk about being healthy, it means keeping ourselves in tip-top shape so we can do things we like to do and function properly. There are different ways of being healthy. You can be healthy physically, where we take care of our bodies. We do this by eating foods that are good for us and being active. When we have good physical health, it means our bodies are working well.
Just like physical health, we have mental health. Mental health is how we feel in our minds. Having good mental health means coping with difficult emotions in healthy ways and enjoying life even when life seems rough. Just like people have problems that affect their physical health, some people have problems that affect their mental health. I think it's back there somewhere.
Poor mental health amongst kids can affect our learning in school and how we behave or how we handle tough emotions. We all experience emotions such as anger, anxiety, sadness, and it's totally normal to have these feelings. Usually these feelings last a short amount of time and go away. But sometimes these feelings aren't so easy to get rid of and can develop into something more serious. When we have ongoing signs and symptoms that affects our ability to function, that's when it can be a mental illness. Half of all mental illnesses occur before a person turns 14 years old.
These long-lasting feelings can happen for various different reasons. For example, if someone experiences a big change in their life or loss of a loved one, they can have feelings of sadness or anxiety that won't go away. Mental illness can come from the makeup of brain chemistry, or you can have a family history of mental illnesses. If you are having trouble dealing with any tough emotions or symptoms, it's good to talk to someone about it. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher, or a trusted adult. If you or your parents or guardian feel as though your symptoms are serious, you can also get professional help from a therapist or a counselor if you need to. Do things that you enjoy, that you're good at, like playing basketball like LeBron James or painting like Picasso.
You can also spend time with your friends or family. It's said that positive relationships with others helps with our mental health. Or you can practice positive self-talk like, you got this, or you could do anything you put your mind to. Many of the things we do to stay healthy physically also help us mentally, like eating fruits and vegetables, getting enough sleep, or exercising. What is your favorite thing to do to stay in good mental health?
Well, that's all we have for today.
And so the kids are afraid of their fathers and mothers because they have PTSD and other anxieties and depression, and they don't understand. So we take a holistic approach to the parents. When they come into our offices for family counseling, we want to bring the kids in and help them to better understand what's really going on with their parents. And so when I pulled up Bell and Benny just the other day to some of the kids, one of the things that I found out is that the kids interacted more with their fathers. Their fathers, they by understanding their fathers better and those things that they are going through mentally, they had a better relationship. They had a better quality of life in the family system. They would come back and ask questions about different ways that they could help their father. And using this video about Bell and Benny helps the therapist and our facility reach the kids, which essentially reach the parents. And it was important for us to understand this and to show this to the kids and ask you if you had to explain to kids what mental health is, that this Bell and Benny is the way. Well, they have many other subjects on YouTube about anxiety, bipolar, and other things to help kids better understand. Go to the next slide, please. And so this is strategy for my mental health self. I know that a lot of people have known kaleidoscopes as kids. And as you're looking through the instrument, you see the different colors. Well, those are instrument under surprise. They reflect objects and create beautiful repeating patterns. The mystery and magic of calmness and balance. In the facilities, what we do is when we have mindfulness rooms and we have a projector and on the wall, when a veteran or a female veteran or male veteran going through anxiety, we play soft music or mindfulness music and we project the kaleidoscope on the wall. And once they see the kaleidoscope and it's rotating and gyrating and other things, we see them calm down and their attitude changes. And so we found out that when you look at a kaleidoscope, use both the left and right sides of the brain. It's healing. And let's go to mindfulness and mindfulness awareness. Of course, we in that mindfulness room, we practice mindfulness practices where we ask the veterans to put their mindful bodies on. And they would sit with their feet on the ground and either close their eyes and have a low gaze, and they would listen to mindfulness music, and they would be able to be centered on themselves and hear their heartbeat and be so much in tune with all of the things that are around them to give them a better sense of awareness. And we also promote positive self-talk, and you will see different sides about positive self-talk. We promote to be able to have a conversation with themselves, a conversation they would have with anyone else, because they can convince themselves to calm down, do a certain thing, or to be able to reason with themselves and regulate themselves. Can we go to the next slide, please? here's one of the kaleidoscopes that I particularly use, and we focus on the center. I think it's a rotating kaleidoscope where we center ourselves. They have many types of kaleidoscopes on the internet, but once we put this on the screen and we play some jazz or soft jazz or slow music or mindfulness music, and individuals kind of focus into a different space because they're full of anxiety. Let me tell you experience about one particular veteran. He was in Vietnam, and a village that he had come upon it blew up in the blew up inside of the crowd, and he was afraid of crowds. So what we had to do is do some techniques to desensitize his whole fear of crowds. So the Meyerhoff Symphony Orchestra, it was front row seats to a baseball game, and so he wouldn't go. So we began to talk about what baseball is. We loved baseball before he went into the military, and then afterwards we would show pictures of of baseball crowds, and when I would see him become full of anxiety, we would go into the mindfulness room and we would show the kaleidoscope and he would calm down. And once he calmed down significantly, then we would walk and we stand on a local baseball. Essentially, we got to the point where we walked to the baseball field where they were having the game, and when he began to sweat and full of anxiety, we had to bring him back to the room, and he watched the kaleidoscope again and calm down. If you right in the room where the kaleidoscope was playing, he would talk about baseball. Essentially, we finally got him to be able to go to baseball and sit. So we have to take and use these techniques in order to help individuals focus, calm down, and be more mindful. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you.
Fly with Abel and Phi, feeling my feelings. In this video, we help children cultivate awareness of their emotions and feelings. Children can explore their emotions with their senses and nurture a sense of mindfulness in the process. Knock, knock, knock. I need to open the door. There is a feeling visiting me. I want to know it more. I did like to listen. I did like to sense what it means to feel. I want to be your friend. I want to see you with wide open eyes. I want to understand you before we say our byes. Are you warm like the sun? Or are you cool like the moon? Are you fluttery like a butterfly? Or are you some Looney Tune? Are you flowy like the river? Or are you beautiful as a bird? Or are you like a mountain, tall, strong, and unstirred? Are you soft like my teddy bear? Or are you hard like a melon? Are you sweet like honey? Or are you sour like lemon? Are you bitter like gourd? Or are you salty like chips? Are you hiding in my belly? Are you the vibration of my lips? Are you breathing fast in my chest? Or are you in my legs? Are you in my shoulder? Or are you aching in my head? Hey, don't play hide and seek. for I need to know you well, so that when you visit me again, I can find you and tell. I want to take you to a kind place, connect with you. I want to breathe softly, love myself, and love you too.
Okay, thank you. Okay, working with the children of veterans, we found out that when we asked them about what they were feeling, they had a problem with feeling identification. So I have taken this video and used it to get them to open up to identify feelings. Sometimes they would think that feelings are very much so real in their life. And so they had a trouble understanding the difference between feelings and facts. Feelings and facts. Feelings may be real that you're feeling them, but then, see, because we found out from those kids that when they were feeling a particular way, the whole world came down. When they were feeling sad, they think it was the end of the world. And so what we try to help them to do, to look around them and be self-aware and be in the moment, and be in the now, and understand feeling is what you're feeling, and try to identify those feelings. Once you identify those feelings, you're able to better cope with them. These are coping skills for your feelings. Someone had their hand up. Okay, we move on, please.
It was actually, it was me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
This is Dr. Lewis. So listening to that video, one of the things that I heard it said is, I want to get to know you. And, you know, that was a surprise to me. But I realized getting to know the different feelings, because they said, like, so what is the importance of finding out where it is in your body and getting to know it? What does that mean?
Now, people feel feelings. The feelings are caused by the neurotransmitters or the chemicals the brain naturally produces. Different brain goes in your brain, such as adrenaline and serotonin and dopamine. So therefore, when you lose something that you love very dearly, you feel a feeling of sadness, a feeling of depression. I have to explain to some kids and even to some parents that feeling depressed, it's a natural, normal thing. Can't see Paul origin. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see what's going on. Oh, can you see me now? I'm sorry. That we have to explain to them that feeling is a natural norm. It's okay to feel anxiety. That's a part of life. It's okay to be feeling excited, sad. And so what we have to get individuals to be is in the now, and to understand when you have a certain feeling, where the feeling comes from and how to deal with it, and where the focus should be, and move on. Hope that answered your question. Okay, we should go to the next slide,
That was
please.
very,
I'm sorry.
yes, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay,
That was very helpful. Thank you.
okay. And so what does all this have to do with it? Well, let's take a look at this. It was a baseball game. Everyone was excited to see. So each person that wanted to see the game was in a box. The fan in the blue, he was given a sit on top of it, and he was able to enjoy the whole game. The fan in the red, he got boxed stood up on it. He was barely able to see, but he could see the game. But the fan in the purple, he was given the same box, but when he stood on top of his box, vision was still blurred. He couldn't see through the fence he was standing on. And so why? Because he was too short. Next slide, please. In this picture, what is the difference? In this, everybody was given exactly what they need to enjoy the game. As you can see, the person that was short was given 2 boxes. And so equity is when everyone is given what they need when they need it, so they can have a better quality of life. Anybody got any questions about this? It's important that our children understand this idea of equity and how it affects them. Because the individual that was too short, just think of it when he could not see the game. Think how he was feeling, thinking what he was thinking, and it caused him sadness and anxiety. So again, equity is when everyone is given exactly what they need. Next slide, please.
So, Paul, when you say that, are you saying that just because I might need soft music, or I may need to meditate, or I may need to take some medicine, doesn't make me any different from somebody else? It's just what I need? Because sometimes people look at other people strangely because of what they need, or they're treated differently because they're not like the person next to them.
And that's exactly right. And so we have to understand that everybody is an individual. Everyone has separate needs. The goal is to be in this macro level family system. You're going to be in a system, finding out what a person needs to reach their goals is important. And so this, for me, and this for, as I train up, what we saw in the image, is equity. Okay.
This is day 1 of my rice experiment. I know a lot of people have shared this before on YouTube or social media, but I wanted to try it out for myself and see if the results really were the same as everyone else's. So as you can tell, I've got 3 glass jars, and each of them have about maybe a couple of spoons of cooked rice in them, and they've been capped tight. The one guy here I've called the love jar. And I will be directing positive words, positive phrases, positive thoughts to this jar. This jar here is actually the hate jar, and I'll be directing negative thoughts, negative words, and negative energy towards this jar. And this guy here, I'm just going to completely ignore because this is my control jar. So I will check back in a few days and see if there's any progress or anything happening in any of the jars in a few days. Okay. Okay, today is day 4 of the rice experiment, and there have been some changes. So if we look at the love jar really quickly, you can see that there isn't anything major that's happened, no moldy spots, except for this area here that has a little bit of fuzzy, pinky, peachy color fuzz growing on the rice, and again down here. But aside from that, nothing else to report on the love jar. Now with the hate jar, there is a couple of tiny spots. I don't know if you can see the spot here of mold, and a lot of yellowing of the rice, if you can see this here, and a little mold happening. Let's see here, if you can see this right here in the back. So that's all the changes in the hate jar as far as I can tell, and a little bit of mold here as well, here and here. Now the control jar that I have ignored for the last 4 days has had the most change. I don't know if you can see, but there's basically a lot of buildup of moisture in the jar, and there's a lot of yellowing of the rice and a lot more mold happening here. Like, I don't know what this is, but it looks really gross. It's like the rice is rotting or something. But definitely this jar has had the most change in the 4 days. So that's pretty much it. We're gonna check back with the jars in another few days to see if there's been any other developments. Okay, we're at day 9 of the rice experiment. Now there's been a little more development on the love jar. So it still looks pretty decent, but there is a little bit of yellowing going on right there, if you can see that. And of course, these are the patches that we looked at the last time. But aside from that, it looks pretty clean. Nothing to report, no major moisture or anything like that. The hate jar has continued to deteriorate, so you can see a lot more yellow. I hope you can see this. And some more mold growing and a little more moisture content. There's a section here in the center, right in the center here, where the mold is growing as well. A few more spots of mold here and some more yellowing. So there's just been more progress, or can I say deterioration of the rice for that. Now with the control jar, there has definitely been the most development. So I don't know what that means. I don't know, like, look at that stuff. That's gross. It's all just going downhill, like this spot here as well. So yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means, you know, that ignoring someone or something is probably worse than actually sending them some hatred. I don't know. But this is my experiment, and whilst it's not, I'd say 100%, I'd say it's pretty consistent with what's out there on the internet and what other people have gotten from their experiments. So I'm going to stop recording for this, and probably will post a photograph update in a few more days. That's it for me.
Give me 15 seconds and
All
I'll
right.
show you
Thank
how
you.
you can get featured in.
That was important. That was an important video that I viewed because it helped me to understand how self-talk can affect life. But how can it affect a person? Positive self-talk can motivate a person, and we can see that negative self-talk even can have an effect on something. We found out in substance abuse that when an individual talks to himself and gives him affirmations each day, that it gives him a certain strength, it gives him a certain motivation, it gives him hope and purpose, and other things. When he can, there's a certain belief in himself. So as we every day engage with our clients, it seems that they get better when we encourage positive self-talk, because they've told us, and it made sure that we know that self-esteem was low, and they voiced it, stated it to us. And we tried to tell them but when they tell it to themselves. The same thing with kids. When the kids have a can-do attitude, when they can see the sun over the horizon, they seem to act better, perform better, and they do better. And so what I'm hoping is parents, I'm a parent and grandparent, that when I'm talking to my grandchildren and children, they themselves can be empowered by seeing me telling myself, even out loud, that I can do it, that I can. And all the words that I speak out my mouth are positive and empowering. Go to the next, please. The words that is important, what do words have to do with inclusion? Well, when a person talks to himself in a way makes him feel like, happy, wanted, and included. For instance, when it's time to choose sides in a baseball game, you're left on the bench, or if the person says, you can't play because you are too short, or you're too young, they don't feel included. They feel that they are less than in some kind of way. So it's important that when we talk to ourselves and to others, that we use words of inclusion like, come on, let's be together with me. I can do it. And I want you to play with me. And I got faith in you. You can do it. Those empowering words are very important because they include people and they make people join together for a common goal. And so I'm hoping that we can see how important words are, not only to ourselves, others, especially when we include them in our daily lives. Go ahead, please. Equity, inclusion, diversity, and mental health. You see my mother here. I was on a conference with my mother the other day. I was conversation. I spoke with her, and we had our hellos. And 10 minutes later, when she came back into the frame of the conversation I was having with my other siblings, she had forgotten that she had said hello to me. Well, when I was younger, I was taught how different people are. People change, and to not look down on the person because they were different. So here as an adult, when I saw how different my mother had become, how she changed, I was kind of brought back to the time where I was taught that just because a person is different, that's no reason for me not to include them. No reason why I should be able to make sure they don't have what they need to reach their goals, that family or friends, and that my family and in the community, diversity is important, cultural and otherwise. Diversity in our field. So I'm hoping to be able to understand all of these things as I grow and this is changing. Only time I'm affected by not being inclusive and diverse and in the way I promote equity is when I resist something for myself and in the world. So as we have this talk about mental health, I'm hoping that when we can take and just destroy the stigmas associated with mental illness and promote mental health. We promote mental health through good eating. We promote mental health by our behavior and modeling. We promote good mental health the way we see mental illness, how we treat our veterans, children. Equity, inclusion, and diversity in mental health is a real thing. And we can only get better by better understanding how our mental health and all these things that we talked about make up society. And so now what I like to do is we can let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. And let's ask some questions. I'll do the best that I can.
Paul, Paul, this is Jeffrey, and I've got several questions. I won't, but so what are the main issues surrounding equity in mental health? Do we have adequate resources? What are your assessment of the primary issues?
Primary issues that everybody doesn't have good health care, and some of the public health insurances does not even cover mental health. So I'm hoping that especially in the inner city. So as it pertains to those things that we need to, to increase good mental health, such as food and resources, I hope that we can get better funding for our veterans and our impoverished socioeconomic neighborhoods. And so I think that the major problem is being able to make healthcare affordable and to make sure that those resources that promote good mental health are available for all.
Do you think that the things like that just happened this week with the NFL finally reaching a settlement and getting rid of race norming in their issues, is that going to be a positive impact? Is that have any impact at all? Is it obviously, what are your thoughts about that?
The NFL is a great platform, and everybody understands and loves the game of football. And so it seems like our society moves the way that our heroes do. And so I think it is going to have some type of effect, whether it's going to be positive or negative, we'll just see. We'll have to see. Our president is not far away from me right now. He's about 2 miles away in a hotel. And so it's so many things going on in our community. And so sometimes issues such as this take a backseat to all the ongoing stuff that's going on. But we'll have to see because, as you said, the NFL is a great platform.
Does it have the potential to be a positive thing?
Well, I can't, I can't say because so look how many things that has happened in the NFL itself with the Kaepernick on his knee and other things, not taking the vaccine for some players. Well, it could have the potential, but it's uncertain now because that's a business. That is a business, and the different platform forms are sometimes self-serving. So I can't, it's hard to answer that question, but we'll have to see.
Right. So I'll just keep going if you don't mind
Okay.
here. So as an abuse counselor or a substance abuse counselor,
Yes.
Are we facing a significant amount of inequity in that realm as well?
Well, for years, I got to say to you, we've been fighting the war on drugs for years, but never once have we've seen people fighting the war of addiction. Addiction is the mental health issue. Drugs, we're fighting a war on an inanimate object that grows naturally. Fighting a war on something that's never ending. But the war of addiction has never been waged. This mental health issue has been an ongoing issue for many people that they've been fighting a personal war on addiction and not necessarily a war on the drugs. They use the drugs to medicate their addiction. They use alcohol to medicate a mental health issue. So it's going to be an ongoing thing, and we'll have to see how it all goes. But as an addiction counselor, I haven't seen much change in the policies and procedures that we go through, but the change that I see is inside the person. It's they're taking personal responsibility for their lives. That's where the change comes in. So what I'm hoping to promote here today and forever is for people to take a personal interest in all that they do. Because it seems like when we leave it to someone else to take personal responsibility for those issues that we have personally, it seems like it doesn't work.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jeff, for those great questions. I have a question too. In one of the videos that you showed, I believe it said that most mental health diagnoses happen by the age of 14, if I'm recalling correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm interested in knowing, like, okay, I understand most, but what does that percentage look like that could happen after 14? Or do you know what that looks like?
Okay, so statistics, can vary any way they want to. I can't say that, but that once a child or a human gets in his formative years and the environments change, as people change, the places change, the severity level of whatever issue they have can increase. So we can necessarily say that those statistics are completely accurate. They may be inaccurate in where the research may have taken place. So they might have been in the counties or the suburbs, right? But in the inner city, I would imagine that in a city like Baltimore, Maryland, those percentages would be greater and higher. Many of you may agree that when you see shootings every day, when you see people on drugs every day, when every other corner has got a liquor store, and people are drinking every day, I would imagine that those percentages may be high. So I don't put a lot of faith in those statistics, but I do put a lot of faith in people and what we see every day. I would imagine that when I visited Colorado, I noticed that they had many marijuana dispensaries there. I had never seen so many homeless people in the years that I can't come to Colorado Springs. So I would imagine that those percentages, if they were that low at one time, now because of the homeless population in Colorado has increased, those particular percentages would be higher. Would you agree? I'm saying you can see with the kids, Ms. Ryder, you can see the direct effect that it's having with mental health issues with the children. You see it every day. COVID increased those percentages, I would imagine.
So I have two questions. One, you said, so COVID also has impacted mental health. Things that have been in the news, I just finished doing a training for the Hispanic Chamber,
Yes.
also for the Black Chamber. And what we are seeing in the news is a lot to do with Black and Brown being killed, being put into cages, being chased down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that this has a direct impact on the mental health of Black and Brown people to add to the COVID? So that's the number one question. And then the number two question is, you said that it's about taking care of yourself. And that is kind of like helping to avoid having mental challenges in the first place. But what if you are a parent or you're a caregiver with someone who has the mental health issues? That's a lot of weight on them. And what do you do about guilt when you get frustrated and you feel like you can't deal with it anymore? So one is about the mental health of Black and Brown people. The other one is about caregivers and their exhaustion.
Let's talk about the caregiver piece first. Of course, we don't understand. We suffer because of the things that we don't understand. And so we, as caregivers to our parents and friends, we're going to have a certain amount of stress and anxiety. And that's what those techniques are for, because we don't have control over those things outside of ourselves, but we can have controls over the things that we do. We have to take care of ourselves. because this world is ever changing and the people that we care for are ever changing. Their diagnoses, maybe physical, whatever, could go in decline. Should we decline because their health declines? We have to be the stronger person. Now, as far as your other question is concerned, I have to say that the way we define the problem is the problem. The way we define the problem is the problem. I mean, when we start talking about skin, that's the problem. I know that people of color have a significant amount of problems, but I'm hoping that we start looking at people and need to see that is everybody's problem and not necessarily a black and brown problem. I would imagine at the Boys and Girls Club, it's when the person has tears in their eyes, in the wells of their eyes, the color of their skin doesn't matter. They're going through a particular severity level of mental health issues, of anxiety, that color does not matter. When they make an aspirin, they don't make an aspirin and say, okay, this is for the brown people, this is for the light people, this is for the Chinese person. Yes, they make an aspirin that's good for everybody. So when you go to the store, you pick up one aspirin and that's it. So I'm asking you to consider that. I don't have the answer to the full question, but I do know this. We have to do a better job of problem identification. The way we define the problem is the problem.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
Hey, yes, sir.
I thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge. Dr. Lewis continues to bring us fantastic speakers like yourself. I have several questions. My first is, I'd like to get your thoughts on the mental effects on young people. You know, if I could use a computer analogy of garbage in, garbage out, of the kind of, I'm trying to find the right words without getting inflammatory, but let's say rhetoric that young people are hearing today, and things like where it's fake news or some of the things that are disinformation or the internet and all the stuff that we put in front of our young people. And like I said, not a color issue, but what are the long-term, are there long-term effects or anything that you see that is the ramifications, the consequences of where we kind of are heading from what kind of information we got out there and letting kids get access to? And then my second part of my question is, what could organizations in your mind, like the Boys and Girls Club, do from a platform perspective to maybe help affect that change?
Thank you. Your question is a great question. Well, let's start talking with number one first. Well, I got to tell you that the long-term effects are, as far as social media, these kids, and all of how we are portrayed in social media as parents and as families is null and void. See, because when they look at Power Rangers or they look at Roblox on social media or Facebook, it never includes what a family looks like. It never includes anything that is directly to the family and the system. It's only the communication between the kid and himself. So what do? They isolate. And so the mental health issue about is when the isolation takes over, when all the kid wants to do is focus on that screen, that talking head. And the real issues come when the parents want to try to reintegrate or get their kid to, like, come and do your chores and put the tablet down. That's what they say. Come on and get off of Facebook and let's do this together. They would rather be alone. Communication skills is going to be low. We're going to see socialization skills are going to be low. They become introverted with all of the things that they do by themselves. If I had to ask part two to your question, what can an organization like the Boys and Girls Club do? Is to try to repair the family system. Because families operate in a system. The mother has a place, the father has a place, the children have a place. And when one person leaves the family system, the others have to compensate. So we all can be in a system. But the family system is null and void. They have strangers living in households. The children are strangers to the mother, and the father is strange. It's just a whole debacle of things. So in order for some of our problems in the community to be repaired, and some in the household to be repaired, and for some of the answers to some of your first questions, where they directly connect with the second question, is this: families have to be repaired. And I hope organizations such as, the Boys and Girls Club can help facilitate. They have to be able to do things as a family, recreation as a family. Even I would look for, on a platform like this, for families to enjoy this together so they can have meaningful conversations with this afterward. That needs to happen. I know that here in Baltimore City, just using for the places that I know, right now it's 9:12 in Baltimore, and the streets are full of adults and not of children. Where are the children at? Eating oodles of noodles on, YouTube. And if you ask them to come out and do some things, they get full of anxiety. You can't pull them away. Family system is being destroyed, and more organization needs to pay attention to the repairing of the family. And we'll see juvenile crime go down, drug use go down, nutrition go up, conversations go up, better grades in schools be wrapped. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I was just looking for a little more.
Okay.
But I do agree in terms of because I don't know. I get personally frustrated with every time there's some issue that we throw it seems like we just pull mental health out, no matter what the issue. There's a shooting. Well, mental health is an issue. Okay. Kids on the internet, it's an issue. It's what we're feeding into them. But I'm interested in this, like you said, how to get maybe it's beyond the purview of the Boys and Girls Club mission per se to reach into the families, but we do support families and strategies around, if I could take you a little further, more strategies of how we could help with families, like you said, platforms and forums like this where we have parents, and we do have a couple parents on the screen I'm seeing right now, along with their kids to take this conversation to the next level. But how do we attract more parents? And maybe if you have any things you've seen work in the past, that'd be even better to help us along here, because we can't, our work we do with the kids isn't really effective if we can't reach the part you're talking about with the families.
So, sir, in the past, when I grew up, the community consists of school, Boys and Girls Club, like the Boy Scouts, the church. We took the community to raise the children in the community. More collaboration, in my opinion, my humble opinion, and you guys know because you deal with boys and girls every day. It has to be a community effort. So if I had to make a suggestion is to how to reach the kids is, in my opinion, is to get those organizations in the community to be back together again. They've dismantled. The barber shop used to be a hub in the community. The beauty shops used to be a hub in the community, and so collaboration between these organizations can have a profound effect on the outcomes that we're looking for in our children, in the area of education, and even in the area of health, in the area of nutrition. It's got to be a collaborative effort. We can see you guys are doing a wonderful job. And Pastor on the corner, he's got a congregation full of parents. I can't even remember the last time I went to a church and they even had a Sunday school meeting where the Boys and Girls Club, the Boy Scouts involved with that. It's got to be a collaborative, in my opinion. You guys are professionals dealing with kids, but I know from the standpoint of the people I serve every day, the number one thing that gives, not the number one, but one of the number one things that our veterans have anxiety with is to reconnect with their families and their kids, because they're afraid that the kids don't understand. What we had to do is we had to bring the family in. We had to bring the family in. We had to provide them those things that would promote good family values, like we have outings for whole families. We had church functions and cookouts for families. We had to do things to make individuals be with each other because they become strangers. So I'm hoping if there was an organization that had to promote, good mental health and other things as it pertains to getting the kids to have a better quality of life, become better managers over their life, and to become productive members of the community. It's the collaboration with those strong community partners.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Miss Regina.
Yeah, so just kind of piggybacking on that question, let me lower my hand. I think about what is it that interests parents? What interests kids? Really thinking outside the box and drawing from that place. Yes, we come up with ideas and, we're going to have this talk and we're going to do this project or what have you, but really asking them, what do you love to do? What would you show up for? What would you have fun with? And then from there, use that as a spinoff to educate. So for instance, there were parents that said, I would come if we had a cooking class. And we do a cooking class, and in that cooking class, you talk about the rice experiment. And have them do that. Let the kids do that. Let the parents come in for a cooking class and talk about it. We come together as a lot of times in relationships is around food. And shouldn't be just food just to bring people in and we eat, but to have small conversations. It's like the table of brotherhood and be able to have those conversations around the table, different topics. Like at our college, we have food at different tables, and then we have a topic, and those people at that table talk about it. And then it would be another topic, another time or something. But the only way that I've seen it, and Paul, you tapped onto something when you were saying, integrating them back with their family and getting involved with, what's in the neighborhood already. How do we bring the interest of the people? And if what they show up for is to get a haircut, find out what do they show up for and start building conversation and teaching around that as opposed to bringing it to our spaces. I mean, that's my immediate thought.
I'd like to respond to that if I could. I'd like to say this to you. The values of the children and the parents are different. They've been different for years. The things that we're interested in now, and the things that the parents and children are interested in, but they just don't melt. So what we have to do is find out what the kids' values are, and let them go from there. Let me give you an idea of what I'm speaking of. Like you said about cooking, we brought a bunch of kids into the veterans as volunteers to cook cookies for the veterans. When the veterans ate the cookies and they told the kids how proud they were of them and how great the cookies were, the kids were proud. Well, one of those kids happened to be a child of one of the veterans. What did that kid want most of all? He wanted the validation and love and attention of his father. So what we did was we had that one kid make a plate of cookies, and he wrapped it up and he put 4 down. And when he sat at the table with his father and he opened the cookies and his father started eating, and his father, so these are so great and so proud. Now, this kid was one of the kids that had the Nintendo Switch all day. But during this time, he didn't even think about that Nintendo Switch. He did something of great value. And so now, since that happened, every now and then we get emails. They Mr. Paul, when can I come back and make a few books? But because of COVID, I lost all that ground because I couldn't have them come into the facility. But I long for them to come back again because it's Christmas time. But they can't wait to show their skills. They can't wait to protect their love in such things like cooking and singing to the veterans and other things. We love to incorporate those veterans' kids in those volunteer activities because the kids want to show off. Why? Because they're seeking approval, love, attention, everything. So I'm with you. So what do the parents want? The love of their kids. And what do the kids want? The love of their parents. And so what I'm hoping to suggest that we can provide that opportunity, would be most valuable because you can't pour money on this one. You can't pour money on this one. And I mean, there's only so many checks you can give out. But guess what? The most valuable thing in a parent's life is the children, and the most valuable thing in a kid's life is their parents. The question is, how do we get them together? How do we make that happen? And when you guys answer that, we're going to try to, but that's an answer that we're going to have to do. We want to win, but we're going to have to do this one. We're going to have to do it.
That's fantastic. I'm looking at the time. This is, I really do appreciate you coming in. And what I really appreciate, Paul, is that you didn't spend majority of the time on mental illness as opposed to mental health, so that we can start instead of a deficit model, we're actually going into a growth mindset. And I can truly appreciate that work. The questions that were brought up, I think, are really important work, and we need it. This month coming is going to be the celebration of veterans. And I know that you work with a lot of veterans. I know that you work with a lot of veterans that have mental health. But it isn't just our veterans. It's everyone. It is our children. And the Boys and Girls Club is right on top of that. This is their wheelhouse that they have to work with. And it's a challenge every day and trying to bring the parents in. So I'm really pleased that this was one of the talks that we had, and how you were able to weave it in and connect it with equity, diversity, and inclusion was powerful and important. So I want to thank you for coming with us today. I know that you're all the way out in Baltimore, and I know that it's 2 hours later, but we really do appreciate the time that you spent with us today.
Well, let me just say thank you so much. Well, let me just listen. I'm a reality therapist. I don't know if you know what that guy's mean, but I keep it real. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I cannot stand is the Zoom platform. I mean, it's Zoom platform. I'm a personal person. Why? Because of the energy piece. You know, being in person, this would have been a whole different presentation if I was in Colorado Springs. You know why? Because we've got energy. And we bring energy to the table. We become a family. We become what we're talking about, and we can have solutions. This distance and the internet, and it's breaking up, and I apologize for all those things, but it's been great talking to you guys. Again, I'm here at a convention of the Shrine. I'm a Shriner. And so this is our time of the year. We make our appeal, and we're going to help these kids. And we send a great donation with our annual appeal, and you'll see some of our commercials on television and everything. But these kids need help, and this is the time that we join together to find out how we're going to support all of the children's hospitals around the world. I'm just going to ask that if you see a kid in need, or you're inclined to make those donations, to do it. And I hope to, on Thanksgiving Day, standing in the street in the most impoverished in Baltimore. And I hope to see 1,000 families with Thanksgiving. I hope to give away 550 coats. I got to find a way to go to the people, because they sat home all last year. Now the coats that they did have small. So now we're going to try to do that for them. We're in a conference, and we're going to try to do all these things. And I'm glad and happy that I was able time to talk to you about this. And I apologize for bad internet connection here in the hotel. But I want to thank you again. If you know the words of prayer, pray for me, because I'll sure pray for you.
Paul, we just want to thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your commitment for being here tonight.